Scotty, beam me up.
Oh. Smash. Get over here.
It is pointless to resist.
Let's get ready for the Halloween party! Wow, it's gonna be spooky and fun! Let's shake up our Viewmaster light sticks and shine in the dark! Let's light up the jack-o'-lantern! And let's light up for monster faces!
A Viewmaster light-up light stick comes with every jack-o'-lantern or monster head, each sold separately. Or you can buy light sticks alone. Light-up monster heads, light-up inflatable jack-o'-lantern, and the light stick itself, each sold separately.
Don't enter the corridors of a twisted mind. If you go forward, you'll find insanity. If you climb these stairs, you're heading for madness. And soon, you'll share the terrifying secret behind this door in the room of steel. Don't go in the house. But if you do, don't say we didn't warn you. Don't go in the house. Rated R.
All right. Welcome to the beginning of our horror-themed episodes. I know I said that last week with Chris Stiles, but you know what? We got a special guest here this week. Our first actor, actress, whatever you want to call her, Rachel Hoffman. How are you doing, dear?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. This is an absolute pleasure to have somebody from the movie industry on our, like,
we're just the little guys right now.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're awesome. Definitely build up and, definitely start with music. People need to promote more, music, good music. Especially
in the last, 2 years, because everything that's been going on, nobody's playing shows. So anything to get their music out there, we do. But it's also good to get movies that people don't know about out. And you've got a couple coming up, so why don't you go ahead and tell us about them a little bit, what you can.
Yeah, definitely. So I have a couple surprises coming up. So I haven't been allowed to announce just yet, just due to the fact that I'm under contract. But the ones I have just recently been in, my cat wants to be famous.
Cats. Yes, we love cats.
Yep.
He's a black cat.
I'm a black cat. Later.
So he'll be making an appearance here and there in that background of the video, or the front of the video.
Yeah.
So I filmed Axe to Grind in December in Oklahoma with Stormy Daniels and a really great crew. And we actually only did the first half. So we're filming the second half, I think within the next, within the next month or so. We're going to be figuring out when we're hitting production. And then I'll be announcing that. And so we're halfway through that movie, which is really great. It was my first experience in the movie industry as a main actress. I had only done television for the paranormal previous to that. And it was pretty much reality. I mean, reality TV was what I was into. So it was scary, especially being with Stormy. She's like a true pro, and she was the director of photography. So, and she's very experienced. She does this all the time. Yeah. And I kept forgetting my lines. I'm like, I was having a panic attack. But it was great. And we became friends outside of that. And we have so many interests in common with each other, in the paranormal and otherwise. And now the movie industry. So that kind of started coming together. I went out last week to California for my costume review for Go Straight to Hell, which we'll be filming in 5 weeks from today. So that'll be crazy. And I leave Saturday for The House That Eats Flesh filming.
Nice.
So
that's the one
where... next couple weeks.
I told James, I was like, I'm already interested. I was like, as soon as I heard that name, I was like, I'm in.
Yep. Yeah, our friend Denise actually told me about you, and she was like, she's in the movie The House That Eats Flesh, and I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I'm down.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Josh Graves is our producer, writer, creator of the film, and he's extremely creative. And we're doing an incredible spin-off of like 80s vibe, and we're filming in Burlington, North Carolina. So it is going to be gorgeous out, and we're really looking forward to it. I can't say too much, but I'm really looking forward to the filming these different types of scenes. Everything is so eclectically different. The Axe to Grind movie is based off of female empowerment and really like kind of gung-ho behavior, where The House That Eats Flesh is kind of reminiscent of a 70s, 80s horror flick.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so which we can all really get down with, because the blood scenes are so badass and they're so uninhibited, you know?
Yeah.
I love my gore.
Absolutely.
I love my gore.
Yeah.
Me
The
too.
gorier, the better, I tell people. On a date with somebody, they're like, what kind of movie do you like? I'm like, the gorier, the better.
Yeah, I'm like, please make my scene like totally graphic and crazy and challenge me, because I know that a lot of times people are afraid to like offend, but I'm like, offend me, please.
Yeah.
We don't give a shit.
Yeah.
No, I want to challenge myself, and I want to challenge the audience.
Absolutely. Yep. You want to either scare them, but you want to like keep them entertained at the same time, so
You
that
wanna
they
keep,
keep
like,
watching
the
and
true-
they keep coming back.
Yeah, you want to keep the true spirit of horror alive, because it's gone a little like astray with reality and stuff. So
Yeah,
I want people going home and talking about it, and like not able to sleep that night because of me. Like, thank you.
yeah, and we need more movies like that in the world. We're really at a dry spell with it.
Yeah, we do. I mean, the distraction level, we talk about distraction and kind of getting out of our own headspace right now, and the depression levels that are going on. The same thing with that time in the depression, we were using movies like The Wizard of Oz to distract ourselves from, you know, all the things that are going on around us. And entertainment is back, even if it's just a short window right now that we're able to create and move on in the industry, both paranormal and horror movie industry all together. Right now, we need to embody that and take our time to be able to, you know, really take these films seriously. And then, you know, we're in pre-production right now, so production could be 2022. You know, we don't know where the world's headed right now, and you know, we need that backup entertainment in our pocket.
Yep,
absolutely.
I know I'm looking forward to seeing these movies.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to think about it, because you nailed it there.
Yeah, you gotta bring that vibe back that we're all missing in modern horror.
Yeah.
Because everything is just stab, stab, stab. Hey, look, a naked woman. Stab, stab, stab.
Yeah.
Okay,
or,
no.
But it's
or it's showing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's
where's the story at? Like, why?
Or it's like be afraid of your neighbor. You know what I mean? Because like you run out of stabby ideas, so now like distrust is the new horror.
And, you know, I have to say, in this industry, I've seen some of the most eclectic, amazing things come from the B industry. We're so budget, but we're so passionate, you know? We really care about the entertainment value.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of movies in at the B level horror, you could say, like Black Sheep. I don't know if have you seen that one, Rachel?
I haven't seen it. No, I've heard of it though.
It's so fucked up. but it's a great movie.
We need more Terrifiers in the world, and less. We need more Terrifiers and less like scary neighbors.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we need to. I think the monster. Same thing with Stephen King's It. Like, we all can surmise what we think the monster actually is. And I think it was almost like an embodiment of all the negative adults in the children's lives that created this manifestation of kind of evil. So we all have our own idea, you know, what was he thinking? That's like the open-ended, was he an alien? It's really interesting, but that kind of twisted horror, they're missing it so much that people are pressing rewind constantly right now. We're remaking, we're remodeling, we're taking things back, and we're using the same actors and actresses as we did 20 years ago, because at this point in time, 20s or 40s the new 20. It's a whole different world than it was back in the 80s.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, like, and that goes beyond just like technology. It goes, because you think everything's been done, but you just got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Everything's
been done, but you can always create your own version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to follow the leader. You branch off and make your own.
Like what Rob Zombie did with Halloween.
Yeah, what
absolutely.
everybody. Mm-hmm.
Zombie is absolutely one of my favorites. I know that.
Love that guy.
My favorite compliments is Sherry Moon. That vibe that she has. She's amazing, and they are the most peaceful individuals. They're vegan, and then they're creating this source of entertainment that's incredible and highly criticized.
Yeah. You either love them or hate them. There is no middle ground, and for me, I love them. I mean,
me too.
The story they put behind them made so much more sense than at Halloween 6 when he was like running from a demonic spirit and they had like this guy chasing him around and everything. It lost its touch because it tried to make him too like supernatural when he was just human.
Yep, and Zombie offers more explicit content, which I hate to say. That's really the embodiment of horror movies, is like sex. It really is like we're missing that because we're dumbing it down too much. So now at this point, we're intending on bringing that back full force. Like I said, it's going to be brought back to the screen, whether or not it be by way of the female empowerment movies where we're kind of taking back over. Oh, it's his turn now. What's his name?
This is Stella. She doesn't like
Stella.
Get down, girl.
My cat will let me pretzel him.
Oh, we have another one.
That's how Vader is. He's so relaxed. He does whatever.
We have another one. He'll let me do whatever.
It'll be Animal Planet for a little while.
Yeah. We always have time for animals.
Oh yeah, always.
We're all fur parents here.
Yeah.
It's a great life. I love it.
I know you make some awesome points, and I'm happy to see that it's coming back. Like, I can't even describe how much horror means to me, and people just like ripped it away at one point. There was like one or two good movies, and that was it. It was either zombies or like a haunted house.
Yeah. Absolutely. I like that creative vibe. These guys really know what they're doing, and these are all different separate people that are having these fantastic ideas. And right now, while we have the capabilities, I know that Josh is taking special care of the set, and we're all taking very special care to, take precautions and do what we can to be able to provide people with this entertainment in the near future, because it's coming out in 2022.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to look forward to, because I need good, like, that old school horror with the new school.
And I think like the underground has hurt us. It just needs to be more. This is what needs to be on the big screen instead of like, they're almost thrillers. They're not even, you can't even call them horror.
Yeah, you can't. And they really have taken out, even I've read books and then I've gone and seen the movie, and they really take out the magic because they're fearful. What we need is shock value returned back to us by way of intellect, by horror, we need to be stimulated. I fell asleep sometimes. Like the last movie that I really saw in the horror industry was 3 from Hell. That was thrilling to me. That kept me on the edge of my seat, that offered that raw footage that we love to see. That's like some good FX right there.
But again, that's Rob Zombie. That's what he does.
Oh yeah, it is.
He knows how to do that, and every time. The only movie of his that didn't really like keep me was Lords of Salem, but it was just a little too weird.
You have to be into the 70s satanic exploitation film.
Yeah.
Like really be into that one.
I never watched any of those.
Yeah, he went to his like roots of what you would think Rob Zombie was with that movie. You know what I mean? Because even before he started making movies, like that's who he was. Like he was into exploitation and like classic horror, and the guy knows his shit like he always has.
Yeah, I actually rented the house from the Lords of Salem. It's down off of Derby Street in Salem, Massachusetts.
That's awesome.
And it is freaking incredible. I almost swore on your show, but all the walls are actually, they're painted and they're hand painted all the way up the wall. The whole place is incredible. And I'm a paranormal investigator also. So the energy in that house was just amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm fascinated by the paranormal. Like, I've never had what you could call like a grade A hands-on experience with it, but I've had enough to believe.
Yeah.
So it's always fascinated me. I'll watch the cheesiest fucking investigation shows you can think of, and like it's like strings.
Yeah.
Shit off.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been into paranormal stuff and had experiences since I was little, you know what I mean? So it was like, I don't know. It's just weird to have that experience. And then like, when you have it enough, you want to go hunt it down for others, kind of.
Yeah, you do. You want to show people what you felt and what you saw.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's here. Like, this is real.
Yeah, but it gives you another aspect into like, you know, investigating, because you know what you're investigating because you've had that experience, you know. And a lot of those shows, they'll all say they have, but like the second anything, like a door opened, you know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I have that too. I get like, I'll go on an investigation and I'll go down a death tunnel for 4 hours. I'll be in a morgue. I'll go into a morgue draw and I won't have any sense about it. Then I go home and watch it and I'm like sweating. I'm like, oh my God, this is behind me. You know what I mean? Like I'll freak myself straight out, you know? So I've done that before and it's laughable. We call it debunking in the paranormal when we review evidence and then we see that what we thought was going on wasn't really factual. We have our own kind of grimoire in the paranormal. It's like an entire, you know, facet of words that we use that is like attachment. So you know how if you get something from someone in the mail, it says attachment on it?
Yeah.
We consider that like demonic.
Yeah.
So we joke around and we say like, please stop sending me attachments. Meanwhile, it's just a picture of someone's dog or like a rainbow, but we're jokingly saying because we use our own, you know, language and that's one of our words that we use. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Fucking hilarious. Because every industry has their own lingo. So
yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, we have a lot of it.
I'll use restaurant lingo in public and people just look at me like
that was a bad habit after I got out of the kitchen. I was constantly doing that and I was like, oh, sorry.
And
see, I don't know the lingo, so you guys could talk crap about me and I wouldn't know.
Oh no, you would know because it's pretty harsh.
So it's not secret.
No, cooks are loud. We're not very secretive people or subtle for that matter.
Yeah.
Got
it. No, that's awesome. Like, I do want to ask you though, like, what are some of like the hot spots that you have investigated? Just like a few of them.
There's so many. Yeah, I've been doing this now for 14 years, but I think one of my top ones still is Rolling Hills Asylum in East Bethany. I was on the Travel Channel with Zach Bagans for his rendition of his show. He asked me and my team to be on about a year before I had agreed to it. And then, because he asked me like 2 or 3 times, I'm like, I don't want to be on your show because I didn't want to lose. You know, I didn't want to go on there and face off with somebody and lose because I was kind of trying to create my own thing.
Yeah.
And at that point in time,
competition show that he was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He was doing the face-off with people.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was called. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were filmed like third or fourth in the whole season, but we were put on first because we were the all-female team. And so it brought up a lot of issues in the paranormal field because there are women, we'd only been in the field for a year together, and there are a lot of women that had been in the field for 15 years that that felt, you know, entitled and felt they deserved a spot before us. And I don't disagree with them, to be honest with you. So it wasn't my choice, but they put us on first, and we got a million views in one shot. So it was kind of crazy, but it opened up so many doors. Like then I went from just kind of breaking into graveyards to kind of being invited to these grandiose places that were amazing. And because people had seen me on TV, they wanted to come investigate with me. So I wound up doing some charitable work around Massachusetts and showed up and just kind of gave everything back to the buildings. And now we can enjoy the history of Middleborough Town Hall, of all the buildings in Braintree that are past from 1700 on, doctor's offices and such, the Victorian Mansion in Gardner. So there's so many projects that I was attached to that I have such, like, my heart is still there.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
You were recently in Gettysburg, no?
Yeah, I was there last weekend. Yeah, I was in California in between last weekend and now. That's why it's confusing.
Right. But now Gettysburg has always been one of my favorite places.
Yeah, it's easy.
And it goes beyond the paranormal, just for the historical value of the city.
Yes, definitely. And my friend Pamela Berry is out there, and she puts together every year the Wounded Warrior Project. Okay. And even though we're a bunch of weirdos, horror and paranormal people really get together for charitable causes multiple times a year. Yeah, like we're together for Paranormal for Paws. We'll do the Wounded Warrior Project. We try to do different projects. Mostly we're able to run events and help these buildings to get the maintenance that they need to continue to stay afloat, like the USS Salem. I worked there for 10 years on the battleship that never went to battle. But it falls apart easily. You know, you need to maintain like the building, the walls, everything, the structure.
Yeah.
You know, gets moldy quick.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool, though.
But that's an awesome way to like celebrate, you know, being a bit successful and like giving it back. That is totally awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I've always wanted to go to Salem. I've never had the opportunity.
To Salem, Mass, the Witch City?
Yeah.
I think that you would love it so much.
Oh, I love Massachusetts. So I believe it. I've just never had the opportunity to go. I fully plan on going and just touring.
It's one of those things that is like you'll automatically feel something there. I always tell people, roll down the window when you're getting close and inhale, because it smells like nothing other. Like it's just got this magic smell to it. And then you go through and you realize that people were prosecuted that were never witches or never practiced witchcraft. Sheriff George Corwin is buried in a different location than his tombstone is laid, because his mother was worried about a grave robber, because he was the one that facilitated the loss of people's land due to their sorcery or witchcraft, or their they wouldn't admit to being witches, so they were hung. Or Giles Corey and Martha were she was hung and he was pressed to death. So it was incredible. And I tell people oftentimes this actually almost occurred 10 years before that. Cotton Mathers, who was the one that facilitated the entire witch hunt, was in Boston 10 years prior to that, and he had started this same witch hunt with the Goodwin children. And there's a book that is almost like, it's so thin, it's almost paperback, that's available out there by Cotton Mathers, describing the incident that was actually extinguished somehow because they admitted to being witches. They said that they were witches and they repented. Where these other people were like, I'm not a witch, because if you say you're a witch, they can take all your land and everything you've ever earned.
Yeah.
So they wanted a trial. And during the trial, Abigail, who's 14 years old, 12 years old when it started, started this entire thing, had gone in there and made a spectacle. And she said that they had written their name in the devil's book, which at that time was a very scary thing to say.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
it started a spark, and it's insane, but we have a lot of history, and we can see through books and through, literature, we can see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. The problem is we have to seek that information ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, it's nothing you can Google to understand completely. You have to research.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go there, you understand a little bit better that the memorial area isn't a grave site. Their bodies were disrespected. They were thrown off the side of a hill and not given a proper burial at all. They were disregarded like garbage because they were considered witches. So in that, you can imagine the amount of hauntings that would be occurring. And I believe that DNA holds memory, and the amount of DNA that's spread around that local area, and especially tragically spread around that local area, it's alive. It makes the land come to life completely, and it's alive with the blood of these innocent people.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, like Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's another one. Oh my gosh, every time I go there, it's like insane. It's crazy.
My favorite place in there is the Jenny Wade house, because that place is just on fire.
You walk in there and you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
I haven't been. That's one that I haven't been. I've been to the Hoffman Mansion and a few of the museums down there, but usually I have to stay local because I'm helping to run the event.
Yeah.
Of course. But, no, there's only two places have ever given me that eerie something happened here that shouldn't have happened feeling, and that's Gettysburg, like the battlefields at Gettysburg.
Yeah.
And then Omaha Beach in Normandy. I had the opportunity to go there when I was 16, and walking through the cemetery, and you just feel it.
Yeah.
It's like a layer of death. Oh God. Just very uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's not even just it's not their whole body. Some of them had to chop parts off and just throw them different places. It is crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm
there's piles of feet everywhere, and
exactly.
They were blown apart.
Yeah.
And they would do it to save their life too.
Yeah.
I mean, they were gangrene and there was all kinds of blood disease and things like that. So they were actually, creating tourniquets and doing their best to save their lives. And it's interesting. I have a whole Pinterest board on plastic surgery from that era. And they were taking people's fingers. I mean, when their whole nose was blown off, they have to walk through life like that.
Yeah.
They were taking their fingers and they were cutting their fingers off and placing their fingers, or their thumb was a really great, option for them.
Wow.
And it's just a way to kind of normalize that deformity that they were facing at the time. That was their cosmetic surgery. And so some of them survived with this prosthetic nose, but other ones had, not just the gangrene happening. Now they have a thumb cut off. Now they, it's it's crazy what they went through to survive.
Yeah. That's why I respect people who went through that, because I could never bring myself to put myself through that. I don't know how those people found the courage.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them were so young, and they were gung-ho about going out there, and they were lying about their age, and they were at that point looking at their molars and hiring a dentist or a doctor to come in to see at what level maturity that these children were at, that were trying to enlist in the army.
Yeah.
Insane.
And it was crazy because, some of them did pass off as adults, and then other ones they would allow to play instruments going towards the front lines and, with tragic circumstances. But my grandmother she served as a woman of war. They call it WOW. And we still have her binoculars and some of her stuff that she had. And women were part of this. We just didn't realize how heavy it was. You know, I took a step back at my grandmother's funeral. There was a fire department and the police department. I'm like, what is this? And they're like, your grandmother served in the military. And I was like, my grandmother baked cakes. You know what I mean? She was just my granny. No, but she had a whole life in her 60 years before I was born.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge part of it. It's insane what happened, like, in the generations that led up to where we stand now, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy to, like, the things you find out about people that you think you've known.
Yeah.
In and out. Maybe, yeah, you did, but not that part.
No, I had so many questions that I was kicking myself. I'm like, how did I not know? I mean, this is cool. She had aviator glasses. Like, what? This is awesome.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And they were smoking tobacco cigarettes, and they had like they wore the tops down. And those women, they were a lot more crass than I had ever imagined. And for some reason, I don't know how it happened. In the 20s, they were extremely bold and crass and kind of coming into their own. And for some reason that started folding back in the 30s. And I started reading and looking up some of the ads going on that really dematerialized women as a whole. So I saw what was happening with people placing that, you know, anyone that was a female in the lower category. So we started disappearing again, where if that rave had continued and our great grandmothers had been allowed to continue to behave the way they had, I mean, I'm telling you, we were wild.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, because I know, like, my grandmother, she was alive during that time, but she was way too young. But she's just as feisty as I imagine a woman serving in the military being.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy.
It's that Depression era. Like, it puts something in you and it lights a fire under your ass.
Yeah.
It really does.
It was a true, you know, people march now, but it was a true, like, you had to be wild to march back then for any kind of rights.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were absolutely, like, you were jailed at that point.
Yeah.
I was watching the first woman that ran the Boston Marathon. I was down there training for the Boston Marathon the year, actually, that the explosion had happened, and I was injured and wound up not going into the marathon. Oh, wow. Not that I would have been anywhere near the front line, because I would have been way back. I'm not a fast runner at all. However, it came into play that, you know, I looked through the history, because history is huge with me everywhere I go. And they used to believe that a woman's uterus would fall out as she ran. So she wasn't allowed to run in the Boston Marathon. So the first woman that ran, a man was trying to pull her off the track. Okay. And then a man runs behind her. It was her photographer friend, ran behind and grabbed him and stopped him from, you know, preventing her from running. So it's an amazing piece of history. It really is. And we all had to come together. It wasn't, you know, like, I'm not talking like in a super feministic vibe. Like, I am saying that we all had to work together to make that happen. There are just pig-headed people in this world.
Yeah. 100%.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And now some of these women are the best. Like, they're the fastest, the best, you know, like, they really accelerated. And, you know, we learn as we go. It's unfortunate, you know, unfortunately, religion holds us back a lot in science and a lot in the paranormal and different fields. Fear of God, fear of retribution.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Because I work in factories and I've seen women doing the same shit that I do.
Absolutely.
I'm picking up, you know, 120-pound boxes and slinging them like they're nothing. And they're doing the exact same thing. You know, it's like, why is there so much division? Like, why is it such an issue?
Yeah.
We're coming into a new era at this point. We really are, to where a lot of that will be non-existent. We're going into our caves again, and then we're coming back out anew. And however we are and whoever we are, it's starting to matter less and less at this point. Like, you're actually only wrong when you're judging someone else.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, we can like what we like. You can't tell somebody's favorite music by looking at them.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always say. You could be a judge, you could be 70 years old, you could be 16, and you could like Metallica, for instance. I know I'm a big fan of myself. But you can't tell by looking at someone what their personality is really like and what they really enjoy. Somebody could be wearing a uniform for a police officer or a doctor and have a million tattoos underneath. I mean, we're becoming more widely accepted as humans in a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, not like relating to that, like the punk rock community is a lot like that, like because there's a lot more punks in a lot more industries than you would think.
Yeah.
There's punk rock cops, there's punk rock doctors, there's punk rock firemen, there's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just passed a police officer with a mohawk.
There you go. There you go.
I'm like, wave that flag. That's right. Because it should be okay to be yourself, and it should be okay to blend in with, the rest of society, regardless. And that's a noble thing to do, be a police officer. It's a noble thing to do, to be in a uniform of any kind, really. Like, if you're able to get up and do that 9 to 5, it's a noble thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have forgotten that because, we watch and we get angry, and that's all we really have. But there is a lot of cool people in uniform that I've known, even personally, that I'd hate to use the bad apple thing because that's really not true, but in a way it is, because there is a lot of good cops. We see the bad ones that they send to us, and that's what it's supposed to do.
Right. Yep. And we see news when there's bad news, and people enjoy bad news, and we won't be hearing about, police officers that delivered groceries to said a family. I mean, I look for heartwarming stories, and one of the best ones that I heard most recently was the police officer that went to the woman's house, and she was unfortunately on drugs, and she was addicted. And instead of throwing her in jail and taking her baby and putting the baby in a home, he kept the baby for her until she was able to clean herself up. And after she did, she chose to allow his wife and him to adopt this baby. I mean, I was in tears. It was buckets of tears. But we don't hear about that because that's not like we're inherently not good. Yeah. We're inherently going to turn our heads to something that I'm guilty of this myself. I hear something juicy. It comes from, I think, my grandmother. We were gossip queens. Like, somebody jogged by the house, we'd give them a whole life.
Yeah.
But it is.
I hear that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, because my mom's
small towns, we get it.
We're small town kids. We understand.
Yep, we get it.
It's funny, but we do that as humans. We do, and it sticks out more. And people want to hear, and they want to focus on bad news. It's just whatever you focus on. And that's another thing. That's a good point to bring up on us creating an industry and doing something different. And, I'm kind of trying to cross genres with the paranormal and the horror field, which I've been doing for quite some time, because I happen to be paired with them. Yeah. Because it really does go hand in hand. We are all kind of spooky. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a certain level of spooky to be like that into something, especially like horror movies. People look at me and they just don't get it, but
you got to be a little bit nuts.
Yes, absolutely. I always tell people that. They're like, "Why are you single?" I'm like, "Well, I went to bring someone on a date, and I said to him, hey, can you do me a favor and hold my feet while I go down into the morgue? I'm hoping that there's some couple loose teeth down there." I've never seen somebody turn more pale than me in my life, but I mean, it takes a special person. It takes special people to pair together in that,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like being a cook.
Yep.
You're like, how are you such a nice person, but you work in that industry? And I'm like, you got to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, and I'm there, so it works.
Or else it'll feed you one way or the other. You'll become an ass, or you'll become like too saintish,
Yeah. And I'm an ass, but I'm not like a complete ass.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You're only half-ass.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but I don't half-ass my work. So
yeah.
No, that's good.
That's what matters.
I watched that restaurant. You guys remind me of that restaurant movie where they're like,
waiting.
What is it called? Waiting.
What
it's called? Waiters. Yeah, that's it.
Waiting.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep. I live that way.
Yeah. No semen in food, though.
No.
I'm joking.
Nothing that overboard.
No, but I understand. Like, I relate to the stress of retail industry, working with people, around people.
Sure.
That energy can be so crazy, and at the end of the day, you just want to like kind of unwind and relax, and you know, let it all out. And you know, that's why I'm promoting weed culture right now. And you know, we are so comfortable with mommy wine culture, and I'm starting to speak out more and more about it because of the fact that we are a nation that belongs under an understanding of the difference between a drug and medicine. And there needs to be clear definitions and clear understandings of the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing my best most recently to promote the you know, the relaxation and what it brings to me as a human being and as a mother to be able to relax and take a little me time that is just all about what I need to do to refresh my mind. And you know, I'm not drinking myself to a stupor, which is encouraged nationwide. It's okay to do that,
it's okay,
but it's
to do
not
that.
okay, right? To relax and smoke a joint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like why? Like I use that shit to function.
Mm-hmm.
I use it as medicine. Like I got my medical card right away. I
Absolutely.
always have
I
it.
need to, but I'm still on the black market end of it. But
which you should be, which none of us should be. We should be agriculturally able to grow whatever we need.
Like they can in Canada. Our buddy Trevor, he can get it delivered to his house 5 minutes after he orders the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like, you son of a bitch.
We are really slacking on,
and it's super fucking cheap too.
Yep, but like, it's happening.
Like, I'm packing.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Even with the medical card, the first warning they give you is, remember, it's not federally legal yet, so they can still like pop you if you have something on you and a medical card, and it's stupid.
Yeah,
it has to be a federal.
Yeah, it has to be like sealed, everything else, you know. But my pen goes with me everywhere because I get into a lot of situations where I need it. So, you know.
Yeah, and God forbid that you're in a situation where you need it and somebody steps in your way. Like, you know, like you don't need that. You need that drama. And that's what I'm saying. Like we all, they're promoting Xanax. They're promoting liver killing, different, like we haven't had a drug on the market currently for 20 years. Like, do you understand? Like that is a real deal thing. So we don't know what happens to people's liver in 20 years. And the enzymes that go along with these drugs, we're experimenting on human beings right now. Instead of accepting the medicinal marijuana factor, we're pumping people full of pharmaceutical drugs that are absolutely causing obesity, heart attack, stroke, and they say it right on the label.
You know, I totally get it because I'm on my own little cocktail, and you know, nothing helps without THC. In all honesty, you can give me all the meds in the world, but the only thing you're gonna make me do is not function. You know, like the more you drug me up, the more zombie-ish I'm gonna be.
Right.
Because I've had that experience since I was like 12 of being on medications that they used to just straight up sedate us. Like, oh, you're feeling a little depressed. Well, here's like 250 milligrams of Seroquel. Take that.
Mm-hmm.
Or 500 milligrams you need. Yeah.
Yeah. Things you can't pronounce.
We've really lowered doses. Like there's 2 milligrams and 3 milligram options now, and we're aware, but we're still in like the ice age of what we could do to help people because it's a moneymaker.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, it all resorts to pharmaceutical companies.
It does. And I'm like, what's in the water? Like, what's going on? What's happening that
too many old people.
Right. What happened 60 years ago? I mean, was this really a circumstance or an issue? Like, we're facing a lot more different diagnoses and an uproar and an outrage and a growth of, autism spectrum disorder and all these different disorders. I have a grown child that you'll hear in the background at some point in time, I'm sure, that is diagnosed with autism.
Yeah, I'm on the also.
You are also?
Yep.
And I was never diagnosed, but when I was younger, I had all the typical symptoms. But again, back then, there was no such thing as a diagnosis. There was just you were put in special ed. You were told that you weren't trying hard enough. You know, you're weird. I was weird.
I didn't find out I was on the spectrum until maybe 5 years ago, like as an adult. So I lived my entire life like that without even knowing. And
right. Yeah. And now it's more common, and they have more centers and things open to be able to test. And I mean, really, you could go online and take a point system test to see if you have like X, Y, or Z. And not that it labels you in any way, because like Spectrum says, it's in the word itself, it's a broad range of things that it could be.
I'm very high functioning, but I'm still on the spectrum, you know.
Right.
That's how my stepsons are. Both of my stepsons are high functioning autism spectrum children.
Yeah, and we're seeing it now, and we're getting those diagnoses now. I mean, back then I don't see, and I go through these records as a paranormal investigator. I am in hospitals that were established when hospitals were established in America. You know what I'm saying? Like, these buildings were built under the Kirkbride construction plan. If that tells you anything about the era and anything about what we knew about consumption, tuberculosis, things that were killing off masses of people. We were thinking that sunshine and air was good for the lungs, and we were placing these people. The Kirkbride construction plan is basically windows everywhere. It's open, so breathe.
Waverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Waverly Hills.
Yep.
That's how they're built up. Windows.
Yeah, and you'll see now there's only towers usually left after, you know, they deconstruct these buildings because of asbestos and all those different things that wind up happening. I know that there are places out in Massachusetts that they felt as though they needed to deconstruct the buildings because of, you know, ugly history in America. And it's unfortunate, and they don't want people to see the showers downstairs in some of these buildings. And paranormal investigators, we sneak around, we go to places we're not supposed to go necessarily because we want the dark history. We want to bring it to light, and we wait a little while, and you know, these things surface somehow, and we're able to show the rest of the world like what was the hidden secret here. These people are the most special individuals in America with disabilities, and we have showers that look like torture chambers that we're not allowed to see, we're not allowed to make reports on, and it's extremely disturbing, and it shouldn't be hidden. It should be very surface understanding so that we don't make these mistakes again.
For sure.
And like, to look back, like the way people that could have just had like a minor, you know, mental instability with them, like
bipolar is what you're
right. Like it doesn't even have to be a major case of it.
I looked at the patient log, and it said a woman was institutionalized because she had cramps from menstruation. There was another woman that was in there because her husband died and women weren't legally allowed to own land. So you're put into a mental institute for the entirety of the rest of your days because you're not allowed to own land because you're a female.
So there's definitely activity happening in those places.
Because that's unjust if you think about it.
Those people are not at peace at all.
No, they're in paupers' graves outside.
There's no way they're at peace. There's no way. Like,
and there's some of the areas out there that you'll notice that are like almost like a conduit. So all the electric stuff that goes, I've heard people say that their boxes blow up outside their house. I know while we were there with the Travel Channel, there was an issue with the box outside, the electric box, and it's right above where these people passed away and died, and they're in the pauper's grave down below. Probably like wanting to get a message out there, because all you could hear was a buzzing noise. Like, they really do utilize electricity and energy, and the buzzing is like bzzz, like it was so loud it was interfering with, you know, our ability to hear each other.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And a lot of these places are built along like streams or like little canals too.
Yes.
And water's another conduit for that kind of energy.
Absolutely. I've heard and seen and almost like visualized the ghosts themselves being able to move from point A to point B. I have a little girl that was my imaginary friend. Her name was Maybelle Deo. She's 3 years, 5 months, and 8 days old. And when I was 13, they found her buried in my yard.
Wow.
So she was, and then they turned the stone over, and I have it on my paranormal page, and we scrape the stone every year because the moss just flows over it. And after the moss was scraped off, my dad was like, how did you know her name was Maybelle? You know,
That's
so
crazy.
but she told me her name. She was very much there. She's very much a fabric of my life. She's moved around with me. Even though she was 3.5 when she died, she's around the age of like 21 years old now. She's very mature. She's gone places with me. I've caught her on my paranormal equipment, talking, saying my name. And I know it's her because I recognize her voice.
Yeah, that's great. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still own the land. She's still on it. We still have the area and the stone and everything.
Hello, Maybelle.
Hello.
Amazing story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I don't have anything like that. I've only had like distant encounters. That's crazy.
Yeah, and some people do. I went to Gettysburg over the last weekend, and people generally just want to tell you about their paranormal experience.
Yeah.
So they're so interested in being like, there's a ghost in my house, you know, like this is happening in my house. And I understand that they want somebody to talk to that doesn't think that they're crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm always the
actually
one.
I have an entire book dedicated to it's a field hunter's guide for Gettysburg. There's all kinds of stories from all kinds of houses in there, basically just residential places, not just the museums and stuff. So it's pretty awesome.
I think they really just like Savannah, Georgia, they built over the dead, and I don't think that they really had any care in the world over it. Really, I see some things that when I go into some houses, we talk about the history, we talk about when buildings were erected, we talk about some of the things and the behaviors of the ghosts that don't match the time period that the house was built. And then we later come to find out that there's an underground railroad or the conduit of water, like you were expressing. So we are seeing these. Just because you die somewhere doesn't mean you have to haunt that place specifically. I'd like to visit Mars. I mean, don't go looking for me because I'll be in outer space.
For sure. Yeah, I would think about Mars. I would consider it. Yeah.
Like something different. Like who wants to go to the local bar down the road that always stiffed you anyway?
Yeah.
You mean the one that threw me out when I wasn't even drunk?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe go tip a few drinks, or run out the tap or something fun for a minute. Nobody's got time for revenge. Ghosts hate that shit.
Yeah.
You doubled my tab back in 1987.
And now I'm back to show you.
Yep. Here we go, motherfuckers. That's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it is. That was a really good conversation.
Yeah,
I'm all fired up.
Circling back to the horror genre though, but how we were talking about modern horror being too reality based, it's like Paranormal Activity. That movie, okay. I've seen that in every paranormal show I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you gonna make me sit through 90 minutes of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could watch this on Travel Channel every Friday.
Yeah.
Right.
The first movie actually got to me because it was so real, but it only got to me once. Once I watched it a second time, I was like, "Oh, this is." Yeah. But they really got people the first time with those movies. They had a following.
I actually know Lorraine Warren, and she's my predecessor, and I actually spent time with her in her home. And before Tony Spera, her son-in-law, took Annabelle out on these events suddenly, she was actually downstairs in the occult museum about 30 feet away from the basement of Lorraine Warren's home. So
Yeah,
I had very
remember.
close encounters, and believe me, I have interviews from behind the scenes that now that she's passed on, I can go ahead and let out there. And believe me, she was saying that she was telling the truth about what really happened. And Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood will do anything it can to.
Hollywood will rip you apart.
Exactly what happened there. And I'm saying she had nothing to do with it. She was just telling the story the way it was, and then they took it from there.
Yeah, like we always say, or Chris Styles always says, it's like throwing darts at a map. Like, I'll take it here, here, and here.
That's gonna be our horror movie. Yeah. He's a good one to talk to.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lorraine Warren though, she was always. I grew up watching shit that she did. Like, whether it was a movie based on like stuff that she did, like The Conjuring, or like Amityville Horror, a classic.
Classic, yeah.
Classic.
So I've always been exposed to her career, and I always had a lot of respect for what she did. And the way they've been tearing her apart, it's just been like, just let her rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she did say to come to her grave. She's across from the Stephanie Cemetery in Connecticut. Okay. And I was over there with her, and I took pictures after Ed had passed away, and I actually caught his ghost in the picture with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a year later, I went to one of her spaghetti dinners, and I showed her, and she started crying.
Wow.
And it was about a year before The Conjuring.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was crazy. But, yeah, she's such a bright spirit. She always had time for everyone. And, when she passed away, her biggest concern was her roosters. That, how people are, like, when they're set in their ways, like, people think she's like a movie star. She can have anything she wants, and she's just worried about her roosters. Like, honestly, it couldn't be more adorable.
Yeah, it's so pure.
Isn't it? And she's so good. And a lot of people didn't realize that. People are thinking that she had a priest coming there and blessing the place, once a week, but she had a priest living behind her home.
I don't know.
Yeah, 2 and 3 times a day he was in there. And I mean, I don't know how it was maneuvered around that the Annabelle doll made it out to these events, but I spoke to Lorraine Warren myself, and she would not prefer that.
Yeah, no. No. That is. I've heard enough stories about that doll that it needed to stay where it was.
Exactly, and she had it down there. She didn't even say her name. Like, when you even watch through the interviews, when she said it, she almost whispered it, and then she's like holding her rosary. And so, like, she really didn't want to. She felt as though giving it energy and giving it attention was causing it to manifest energy. And so she was doing her best to keep it at bay, but at the same time, it was in the museum under lock and key with many, many other things. I actually have an episode called All Things Haunted on YouTube from my paranormal page from, like 13 years ago now. Yeah. And it's crazy because you can see everything in there. And she had such an eclectic collection of things. I'm sure her daughter Judy has the collection now in her home. With the rest of the belongings, because the only thing I think that really is on display is the doll. Because everything else is, I hit my head on the vampire's coffin and I had nightmares the whole night. Like, I don't know if it was related, but I'm not, and I'm not like, I don't spook easy, so it was just, I was creeped out. Like, and I don't get creeped out easy.
Yeah.
Neither do I, but it's a place like that, I probably would.
Yeah.
She's like, don't touch anything, and I'm like, trying to like suck my body into my body.
Yeah, I'm a big dude. Like, I'm wide. Like,
I'm small myself.
Right? Yeah, you're tall. Like,
I'm telling you what. I was going like this with my camera because I was so absorbed with getting every little thing in the shot that I was looking inside. She was like, don't go inside that room. So I didn't go inside, but I put my camera inside. And when I did, I panned across and I caught something that in the video you'll see it's a visual, but it's making a noise like it's ripping the film. And it's like, and it's in the corner only. It's crazy. And it's in this room that she's like, don't go in there.
Yeah.
And so I think it was, I mean, I honestly believe in portals. Like, it's part of the paranormal, like everything, but portals are big to me. That's why we don't always see the same activity, you know?
Yeah.
Ripping open the door.
Oh yeah. Doors everywhere.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
And so we never know when we're going to run into one, but
like you, I don't spook very easy, but a place like that, I probably would, just because of everything I know about the shit that's there.
I was totally freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody's like, oh my God, touch the ring. I'm like, I'm not touching shit.
Damn thing, no.
I was freaked out, and then on the way home, I ran out of gas, and it was me and my best friend at the time, and it was her birthday that night, and it was crazy. We had to actually pull over a police officer to get us to a gas station safely. Sorry, something crashed. You okay? I'm bro mom. So yeah, we wound up getting to safety, but I swore that night it was because I said to my friend, like, I laughed at her for being afraid of the Annabelle doll. So I'm like, it's the vengeance, it's back. And I ran over a gas pump in front of a police officer. I'm like, oh, it's paid back for me. Like, it was but some of those items, not just Annabelle, but some of those items have actually been linked back to the deaths of people. So yeah, I went through each one of the items on the video, and I would show the audience like what it was, and there was usually these little note cards next to it, and I'd get as close as I possibly could to read the note cards, because like we don't know now what's going on with the occult museum. It's probably gone forever. Like now that's documented at least. There was this hollowed out tree figure that they found, and it was like some kind, it looked demonic. But they found human bones in the bottom.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, and they were infant bones.
Fucking great.
Yeah. So it was crazy. And they had, yeah, exactly. I know. And nobody knows what to do with this stuff, you know? Everybody's super stressed out. Yeah. Well, back then in the 40s, the 60s, the 80s, it was different. It was just people
I know.
were freaked. They were like, take this demonic stuff and just go with it. And so everybody knew what to do when they had something that they feared. They brought it to Ed and Lorraine, and they dropped it off there. Or they'd go pick it up, for them.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's just put that shit back.
That would be the first instinct of a person that is like, but they were worried.
That's not mine.
Yeah. Well, they were worried too about if something was going to continue to happen out there, if there were sacrifices going on. Yeah. And Ed and Lorraine worked with the police a lot, so they have a lot of recorded different things that they were helpful in many situations.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Dude, that's God.
Experience as a kid for me, they were just kind of they were there, but I never really grasped any kind of I want to hunt this down until I got to California. Once I lived there, it was every night we were chasing something, and something was always there.
Yeah, California people don't realize that even though the ghosts are a little newer, they're there definitely, and that place is got a lot.
Yeah,
you even got the ancient spirits in California.
Oh yeah.
So, the Grand Canyon's chock full of them.
Yeah.
You can have anybody investigate the Grand Canyon, and they'll tell you, there's something there.
That's one I got to do. I got to put that on my list now.
Yeah. There's all kinds of caves and shit that they don't tell people about, but if you find them, and old mining shafts and shit like that. People have definitely died in the Grand Canyon.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure people have gone in, and it's like the Bermuda Triangle stories, they just don't return.
A lot of them. There's a lot.
Can you imagine? I hope they told somebody they were going.
Oh, they did, but they never came back. And they can't. They've never found a lot of people that went in there.
And they send in rescue teams and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can't find them.
Oh my
prospectors and stuff. And just disappeared.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh, that's scary. Well, I think it's a family vacation, and it's like really.
I know. Well, yeah, that's the crazy thing, because I went to the Grand Canyon when I was 6, and when we were moving across the country, and a hailstorm, you could just see it coming right across the canyon, and I was like, "Ooh, that's fun." Just a wall of hail, and we got in the car and sat there until it passed. That was an experience.
Where are you guys located now? Where are you?
I'm right near Philadelphia, maybe 45 minutes away from it.
And I'm 3 hours, west of that.
Yeah.
Northwest a little bit. I'm right in the middle of the state of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I couldn't tell by accent wise.
I've got a little bit of everything going on. My parents were in the military, so sometimes my southern accent will come out from my dad. So
sometimes people say when they're drunk or when they're angry, like their accent, one of their accents are strong.
Yeah,
that's me. I get drunk and I sound like Bob from down the road.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
We want to take a quick break real quick?
Yeah, I was just about to say, why don't we take a little break?
We'll go 5-10 minutes.
Yep.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
The phone zombies are very, very dead. But they're not in their graves. And they're not walking the night. They're in the phone line and they've got your number!
Want bears? Dial 1-900-490-DEAD.
Randomly selected callers get to talk to me live in the flesh. When you reach me, you'll wish you never called.
Only $2 a call.
A most chilling experience is waiting for you. You can make your next party a real scream with a Goosebumps ice cream cake for a limited time from your local TCBY treat shop. A taste so good you can send shivers down your friends' taste buds. TCBY Goosebumps ice cream cakes for a limited time. And for $5 you can get TCBY treats, gift certificates, and offers from Walden Books, Party City, and DreamWorks Interactive.
All right, we're back.
SpongeBob.
I'm ready. So, let's talk about some of our favorite horror movies. One of my favorites has always been Texas Chainsaw. I love the grit. I love the blood. I love the effects. The makeup was great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Leatherface, which is so iconic. No matter what generation it is, you know it's him.
Yep.
Yeah, and that could be any generation. That's like, it's a classic, that really made it into that category of classic for sure.
Yeah.
It's this generation's Wolfman almost.
Yeah, and Jessica Biel, amazing. She's amazing. And she, those jeans though.
There he is.
Yep, there.
Oh, you got the horror collection?
I have all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of videos?
I started collecting. They were like little stuffed animals, and I just couldn't stop collecting them. I have a whole bunch.
Aw, that's so adorable. I see a lot in the background.
Yeah, I even have a Freddy one.
Freddy. Ooh, he's a good one.
That's another favorite. Nightmare on Elm Street.
And that's mine. So you just it's like you're psychically in tune. Yeah, like Wes Craven, hands down, some of the best stuff. Some of the best nightmares in my elementary school days came from Wes Craven 100%. Yeah,
People Under the Stairs.
Yes.
That movie scarred me as a child.
It still scars me. I
still have a lot of trouble with a dimly lit basement.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of trouble separating that's not fact. That kid that came from out under the stairs is not still under those stairs.
Yeah.
But I have a crush on Freddy. That's partially I know it's crazy, but that's the crazy thing. He wasn't afraid to be himself.
Yeah.
You know, like he didn't stop. He didn't stutter. He wasn't afraid to say what he had to say. I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the aspects that they used, the high schoolers, you know, especially in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where they really delved into the stories and got into it. You know, that just like the thing of your nightmares, high school would be like you're making out with somebody, and then, you know, never mind, there's like, you know, it's just the two of you, and bam. I mean, it's the Zodiac killer. I mean, and the combination of things that really do happen in scary, true monster life. Yeah. And then we take it and we depict these characters that are, you know, beyond our imagination. But for that reason, that dominance factor and all those things kind of rebel without a cause, that would hands down be my favorite, like, on Earth. And it has to be the second one for me.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, the second one, those movies came out like that, and Friday the 13th, they came out in that time where the sequel often was better than the first one.
Yeah. Like they had a little time with it to mull it over. And Hellraiser 2 also, that was really good when I met the main actor for that character multiple number of times.
Yeah.
And Jason, the individuals that play him, they formulated a band called the First Jasons.
Yeah, Ari Lehman. Yep.
Yeah, they're amazing. Ari's a good friend of mine. He's actually a UFOologist.
Oh, that's awesome. I almost had a chance to meet him, but he like cut out on a convention he was coming to, so I was like, come on.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, after his conventions, oftentimes we'll go out and UFO hunt.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's something different than my normal everyday, but his crew members are very in tune and have like a lot of really cool intergalactic experiences, which it's really cool to listen to. And then they're teaching you different things to look for in the sky, which it was a new experience for me personally. And they gave me a little Jason mask, iron mask for a necklace, and I still have it to this day. It's the most adorable. It's hot pink. It's so cute.
That's awesome.
But yeah, great guys, really great guys.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street, since we brought that up, I actually have this from my favorite one. It's got to be number 3.
Oh yeah. Now I'm gonna have to rewatch all of them. Marathon at my house.
3 is my favorite because I can't even describe why. Because it took it. It's not like Halloween, where it goes so off track of story. Like Nightmare on Elm Street kind of keeps the same characters around, but in certain ways, you know, like Nancy was around for how many movies, and you know, it's not like Laurie Strode. Like they created an entire universe around that character. Like Nancy and Freddy are Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or.
Yeah, but my favorite.
I like that.
What, your favorite?
Let's just say I would have to say, out of all of them, any movie, Return of the Living Dead is still my favorite. Any time.
Oh my!
I've been watching that movie since I was 5, so it carries the most memories. So I'd have to say it's my favorite. To be honest.
I love that. Yeah. And that's like, you know, those are the ones that we need to see more of now. I think that's a lot of what needs to be brought back. And, you know, CGI is great. And I know that CGI is being incorporated in House Eats Flesh and a few of the other movies that I'm going to be in. I have no argument there. It's an art in itself. FX is an art in itself. And we know this. But really that old school horror, that Jim Henson age is like, it's coveted, you know, it is. So I'm hoping to see a lot more of that hands-on FX material.
I love when they get down and dirty, because like even in Dawn of the Dead, when they filled his head up with like apple cores and everything and then blew it up, like it looked so real. And it was just stuff they found in a trash can, you know, with some fake blood. That's pure passion right there.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's good visuals. It really is. And I know that, I don't know if you guys had seen my original, I was in a bikini in a hot tub, and then we incorporated like 13 or 14 different ways to kill me, and using different blood splatter methods that were, my fans each said they wanted to use like a balloon or a comb or baking soda. So we tried everything. And what we wound up doing is we wound up getting kind of really good ideas on what to do for the film that looked like kind of brain matter or different things. And it's fun. It is gross. It's cold. It's disgusting and it tastes nasty. But it is fun as hell to try different things. And I was filling my mouth full of the blood to, hoist it back out to see what that would look like.
Yeah.
And they have really done a really great a job with turning the blood sweet now. It's not sickening like it used to be. It used to coat your mouth. I used to have to re-dye my hair, and now the FX people are really getting good with it's good. Yeah, it's syrup, and it doesn't taste bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking it, but I mean, I wasn't, it was tolerable to have it in my mouth. And they try to get it as far down your throat as you can because they really want you to project the, to make it look like, so especially during the death scenes and stuff like that, it just makes it way more believable. Yeah. I have respect for people that push the envelope like that to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
bring it up. Oh, go ahead.
No, that just gave me a flashback to our pushing the envelope to entertain a few weeks ago when we chugged syrup. That was.
Oh, no, you didn't. You actually chugged syrup, like maple syrup.
We still have nightmares.
It wasn't like legit maple syrup. Me and Craig had the Walmart brand. Matt had the Aunt Jemima, and Matt's from Canada, so we were like, okay. He challenged me to this months ago, and I agreed to it. And we
oh my gosh! Did you get sick?
Our conclusion is it was painful, and I'll never do it again.
And Canadians will always win that challenge.
Yeah. I think I sat with like 10 pounds on my gut for a week with that.
And me and Craig only drink half of our bottle.
Yeah.
Oh my
god! I've still sworn off pancakes and waffles for the foreseeable future.
Oh my god, we'll be off it for a year. I do have to grab my charger. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
So sorry.
Yeah, why don't you take a break?
This is One Tough Video Game. Fester's Quest is one tough video game with sinister lasers, deadly traps, hideous monsters, and spooky graphics. But if you make just one mistake, you start all over again. Fester's Quest, the video game from Sunsoft for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Are you good enough?
How would you explain it? A woman in Wisconsin is doing the dishes when suddenly she's possessed by a terrifying feeling. She's positive that her young daughter has just been in an accident. She quickly makes a desperate phone call, only to learn that her feeling was true. How would you explain this? A dozen people around the world who never met each other describe an encounter with a being from space, and their descriptions of the creature match almost exactly. And how do you explain this? A man's heart stops beating in a hospital, and he sees a blinding light that doesn't frighten him, but fills him with an indescribable feeling of peace. And how can you explain the growing number of people who feel that they've had a brush with something beyond our everyday understanding? Maybe no one can fully explain these things, but they can no longer be ignored. That's why Time Life takes a serious look into this world with a remarkable new series, Mysteries of the Unknown, to provide an objective and comprehensive look at what may lie beyond our ordinary reality. How can you explain this? 4 men are drawn to an ancient Anglo-Saxon fort, site of a fierce battle. They enter the shadows of a ring of trees, and without warning, one of them is grabbed by an unseen force, lifted 5 feet in the air, and suspended for 30 full seconds. There are so many hints of a world more remarkable than we ever imagined, and of abilities that we barely suspect.
Mommy, all I could think of was you. I know.
Send for your first volume on a free trial basis and see if you can explain these things away.
To order your first book, Mystic Places, call 1-800-548-4600. Examine it for 10 days. Keep it and pay just $12.99 plus shipping and handling. Other books will follow, one about every other month. Keep only the ones you want. Cancel anytime. Call 1-800-548-4600.
All right, little impromptu break. Never heard anybody.
Yep.
So,
yep.
What were we talking about? Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Horror.
Yep. Wes Craven specifically. I wanted to talk more about him. The Hills Have Eyes has always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite of all time would probably be People Under the Stairs, just because of the impact it had on me as a kid. Like, I still have trouble with a dark basement. You know, I'm in my mid-30s. I was 10 when I first saw that, so it's like, okay.
That's cool. I turn a light on in the basement too. I refuse to walk.
I have to.
Yep.
It's so crazy because it's part of my job to go into basements, like, and so it's never like, trust me, when your back is to the darkness, you're always thinking like a 6-year-old. You're always like, my feet are gonna get chopped off. We're all gonna die. I'm never gonna see my kids again. Like, this is it for me. like, I mean, it's literally the end.
Yeah, like if I was doing what you do, like if somebody was with me, I'd be fine. Yeah, but if you're like, no, you're gonna take this GoPro and you're gonna go down there.
Yeah, that's what they require me to do.
And I'm gonna be like, I need a flashlight, buddy.
It's hard. It's hard. I feel like, and it's scarier because other people are. You have an audience too.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that you can face the challenge because some of them want to be where you're standing. You want to go far in.
Yeah, like if I was on a show, I would definitely do it.
Yeah.
It would just take me a while to do it.
Yeah. And then I feel like by the third or fourth basement or whatever, you'd be like,
maybe. Because
I even hold my hand at the people under the stairs.
That's my fear. Like, especially with stairs they're not like, they're just steps, like you can reach through them.
Yeah.
Like that's my fear, just a hand grabbing my leg. There you go.
I will admit, I'm like 37 years old and I run up the steps. I don't even.
I double step it too, man.
I swear I'm a paranormal investigator, but I still sleep with my feet under the blankets.
I don't do that.
He's like, now you're taking it too far. No, but I do. I freak myself out.
That's just me. I put off a lot of time. Doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. My feet are out. I don't know why. It's just always been that way. Yeah, the People Under the Stairs just always stuck with me. And like, what's a movie like that maybe creeped you out to the point like that? For me, it's People Under the Stairs. Like for you guys,
for me, it was Trolls. Is that bad? Is that corny? Am I so corny? Oh my god, Susie. Oh my god, I am so corny, right? No,
that's hilarious.
Like, logistically, okay, I thought to myself, I didn't want to be a troll. I was like, I was like, I want to be pretty. These trolls are ugly and like it's forever. And I was so vain. Even back then, I was so vain. I was like, I don't want to be ugly. So while I'm watching people like get slashed up and like nightmares and dreams getting interrupted and stuff, I'm like, just leave my face alone, please. So for some reason that was it for me. And like, I mean, if I had any reason to fear basement, that would be one.
Not necessarily a basement. I just meant in general.
But I relish ghost movies like the Ghostbusters and like Beetlejuice and stuff like that. So like those are my saving grace because they added the comedic value to the paranormal world,
Yep.
Yes.
You already know what mine is.
Yeah.
That's the first movie that really creeped me out, creeped me out. Like Terrifier is the one movie for me where I won't be out in the dark. I stand on the porch with the light on.
No, get scared.
Ah.
Where'd you go?
No!
Rachel!
No!
No!
Ran away. Look, we chase people away in the geek den. I can't believe it.
No, that's upsetting.
It's not fair.
Oh. This is...
So, testes. 1, 2, 3. All right, we'll go on break.
The Evil Dead. Here being shown to a live audience. The most ferociously original horror film of the year. The ultimate experience in grueling terror. Dare you see this film alone? The Evil Dead.
Nothing could tear me away from my Count Chocula cereal. Who's that? Good morning.
The real Dracula.
For real? May I have some? You can have mine.
I'll sink my teeth into
What?
the delicious chocolatey marshmallows in Count Chocula cereal.
Oh, yeah. And it's part of this complete breakfast, too. How about the monster for breakfast today?
For real?
All right, that was a little
Right.
snap.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, it happens all the time.
Sorry. Oh my
No,
fault.
you're perfectly fine. Technology.
Anyways, I think of where we left off, I think. Yeah, that's where we left off. Art the Clown is like my nemesis and my love at the same time, because like if that dude popped his head around the corner, I would forget it. That's all it would take.
Just make it quick, will ya?
Don't saw me in half, please.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite deaths in cinema history. Have you seen Terrifier?
I have. I don't mind clowns, but like some people have, they can't. They just can't do it.
That movie kind of showed me why.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a thing with clowns, but
yeah.
I don't think I ever had a problem with clowns at all until the American Horror Story came out. That twisty.
Oh, twisty. Yeah.
Awful. He's an awful.
John Carroll Lynch.
Yeah, he's really bad. And I think it's because he's almost reminiscent of a few of the historical serial killers that are more prevalent, you know? So we're watching and seeing kind of like real life.
John Wayne Gacy.
He's one of the worst.
He was a clown.
Yep.
Yeah, he was. He portrayed himself as a clown, and all of his victims were young boys. A lot of people don't realize that these main serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and Gacy and a few of the prevalent ones, Albert Fish, they were all pedophile serial killers for males.
Yeah.
And, most of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims were Black or Asian or Spanish. He liked to choose minority for his own disgusting reasons. But he wound up kind of like putting it on the map. But a lot of people, they fantasize and romanticize about these serial killers, and Jeffrey Dahmer being one of them. Like, people thought he was a great looking guy and he was eating people, you know.
Yep.
People are sick.
Yep.
Some of the shit that he did, that would just, I don't blame the guy who killed him.
Yeah. And ironically, he's Black and thought he was the son of God. So it was like karma threefold, you know. And people get what they get what they deserve. But I honestly think that for the purpose of science and psychology, that these people should be isolated, and we should be really picking their living brain until the day that they expire. And it's unfortunate because we talk about justice and we talk about this system and we talk about, laying things to rest. And I truly do believe that happens after a sentencing occurs, and it doesn't always have to be death. But I think these people should not be taken off the earth so quickly. We should have listened to Ted Bundy a little bit more as he was talking. And don't get me wrong, it's a selfish will to live. But he was talking about the pornography and what led him into this dark path. And while everybody was kind of brushing their shoulders off and not listening to him, he was speaking his dying breaths at this point.
Yeah.
So we have to like take a bigger step back and look psychologically at people that we can see if they have traits that we can depict early on and help, not lock them up, but help them, know? And so I'm hoping for that in the future. And I'm seeing in our movies these twists of characters that are built off of real life monsters that walk among us.
Yeah.
I love stories like that, though.
Yeah.
There's some kind of element of a true story in there.
Yeah, that's why you like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, because that shit could fucking happen.
Yeah. And also The Last House on the Left was a good one. Yeah. I know we're talking about the neighborly thing, but that was really like a psychological
Last House
thriller.
on the Left is totally different. Totally different from like Don't Trust Your Neighbor, because Last House on the Left is just like
random.
It's a festival of goodness.
And it's a very random, right. And it's a very random like selection. That's what freaked me out, I think, the most was the last sentence was like, why did you choose us? Because you were home. Like,
oh, the strangers. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's like the truth that's underlyingly laying underneath that, horror.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going on the edge of my seat. I'm like, and then you go home and you feel the shock waves of your nerves, like you've been on a roller coaster for 2 hours.
Yeah, it still happens. I could watch Terrifier for the 100th time and I go out for a cigarette and forget it. I will not stand there in the dark. We have like steps coming right up around the corner of our house. So if he just popped his head around, I'd be like, this is not a photo op. This is the real thing. I'm going to die.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But those are the
best ones. At this point, you would. At this point, you just like, you'd come out of your shell and be like, "That's it. I'm going to go for it." And now, people that make themselves accessible, like Robert Englund, all over the place. I've had him personally call me a bitch. I'm proud to say. So I can say honestly, like they make themselves more accessible. The Candyman is coming back into play now. Yeah. He's big news again, and I've been next to Tony quite a few times, and he's had people come up to him and be like, "You're the guy of my nightmares," like you're the man of my nightmares. And I would say that honestly, like that still holds true. People are worried about that it's going to be played out. I'm not stressed out in the least bit. I think that it's going to be like one of those that we walk home and, we're like, oh boy, again, like we need that again. And that story, I don't think that can get old. That's a good one.
Not at all, especially with him coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Like that was the key thing when they announced that they were rebooting Candyman. I was like, is he coming back? Craig was the one who told me he was, and I was like, okay, I can get behind.
That's going to make the biggest difference. I think in, how critics are anyway.
Yeah.
That's how it was. I was in the female Ghostbusters movie. I wasn't in it because I was like so all about the movie. I wanted to meet Bill Murray, but I wound up being on the set for like 14 days.
Wow.
And so it was really cool to see the behind the scenes kind of movie magic happening. And I got to be in a scene with Slimer. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really wicked. I actually liked some of the new age ghosts were kind of badass. I was like, this is kind of cool, Yeah. And of course the ladies were amazing. And, just being a part of that whole thing was amazing. But that legacy of the Ghostbusters and that legacy of the, that's what made me become a Ghostbuster, even though I'm not busting them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's not horror, but that's to me, like, that was like it made it a little bit more magical and funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, those movies are another part of my childhood that just, you have to watch those movies if you have access to them.
Yeah.
But you can't
Absolutely.
not. It's like Beetlejuice.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
If you have a copy of Beetlejuice, you're gonna have to play it.
Yeah, all the time.
You can't leave it on the shelf.
No, you can't.
One of Michael Keaton's best roles ever. Don't care.
Hands down. Anybody that tries to
That and
play
Batman.
it, it's just definitely. Yeah, he was my Batman too. Isn't that crazy how we each have one? Just like you think about Batman and like you're like, who's Batman to you?
Yeah.
And I'm DC Marvel freak. So like every single, and I have stuff like I actually was like a comic nerd. So like I actually read back, like I have all the back stuff. And it's funny because people ask me like what my favorite Spider-Man is or what my favorite DC comic is or whatever. And it's stuff that's not like movie or accessible on the shelves. Like Spider-Man 2099, and like we're talking about the Paradox universe in DC where the Joker is the mother and the Batman is the father and Bruce Wayne dies, so like we're talking about parallel universe and things like that, and some of that stuff was really, really mind-boggling and easy to channel into because I was like that nerd. I was that person that was always looking for that alternate universe, that kind of like different channel, portal, or wave to get into. And some of it was sci-fi also. It wasn't just horror. It was like I was very sci-fi based also. Off the top of my head, I can think of a million of them, then I can't think of one. But I was, an 80s kid, so I feel like I was blessed in that.
Yeah.
I was forced to watch all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The 80s had a lot of treasures come out of there.
Yeah. 83. And I feel like those were like I still remember a lot of those years, even though I was like 7 when the 90s came. Like
Yeah.
How old are you?
37 now.
Oh, you're a baby. You're younger than me.
I'm even
That's what
younger.
they all say.
I'm 33.
You're 33?
Yeah.
I'm going to be 42 in 2 weeks.
I would have never guessed.
No.
Would have never guessed.
Thank you. Yeah, I keep it fresh because I'm kind of just like always all over the place, and style I think plays a lot into age, factor, how people look and stuff. But I try to keep it bright and smiley and stuff a lot of the time, so people get a different vision of me of being like a younger person. But it benefited me for the movies because I have been offered multiple parts in one movie, and it, like I said, I was looking forward to the challenge for most of it, so it helps me to expand my, my arena. Yeah.
How many different characters you can get out of one person.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of like the Eddie Murphy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people have those faces. And I know like Robin Williams, like let's say for instance, like, oh my gosh, he could just really do anything, he was really just believable. And like Mrs. Doubtfire was a really great one too. All of his great personalities were kind of like really in there.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. I miss a lot of the voice characters that came from the 80s. A lot of comedy you could turn on the radio and listen to back then. It was, like it was different, and comedy was rough, and it was, I'm not even talking Howard Stern. I'm talking pre-game, Def Comedy Jam. Yeah. Like in the early stages, like they were saying the N-word, like literally on the radio waves with, the comedians. There was no filter.
No. It was a wild time.
Yeah, it was. And, but there was a lot of raw honesty back then too.
Yeah, exactly.
That now is missing from everything. But the raw honesty was, it was enjoyable. It took a grain of salt, it wasn't for everybody. And there was people that would actually like, be insulted by it. But so that's still all that stuff, even though it's not exactly horror related, it's in the veins of our movie making industry. It's all kind of somehow connected. And so I like the comedic value coming back. And so Josh has also mentioned that in The House That Eats Flesh, that comedic value is going to be in the fabric of our movie also, which is exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting to think about that. You're not just going to be like thrilled and chilled, but you know, you might even be able to relate to the character and laugh, and that's fun.
Yeah. Like bringing it back to Freddy, that was one of his main points, is he can make you laugh.
He could. That's what made he was appealing in that way. You know, that's why I had a crush on him. He was kind of like, you know, mysterious and you know,
charming,
he was, he was charming. He was
oddly charming, but he was charming.
Yeah, he was. And now I notice like people when they dress up as like Freddy, I'm always like, can I get a picture with you? Like I just absolutely love Freddy. Like, you know, it never went away, that kind of excitement. We also, when I was younger, we were 6 years old and we stole my friend's older brother's whole tape set and we locked ourselves in a playroom and we watched it. Like we stay up all night. So like every Nightmare on Elm Street, every Jason, we got under our belt before morning. Yeah. So I'm like,
Thriller did it for me. Like we used to have that VHS, and even though I was like 5, I just fell in love with the idea of monsters. They scared the hell out of me, but I fell in love with the idea. And we would stay up all night watching that over.
That was another video that fucked with me.
Really?
Thriller. Yeah.
Thriller. Yep. Thriller kind of gives me the creeps.
Yeah. So I wasn't even alive when the video and the song came out. But I was obsessed with Michael Jackson. Especially when I was a little kid. I still love his music.
Yep.
Me too.
When I was a little kid, that's all I would listen to.
Yeah.
I saw the Thriller video and it creeped me out to the point that I couldn't even listen to the song because of Vincent Price.
Yeah, they did such.
Looking back, that's what it was that creeped me out about the song was Vincent Price.
Yeah, they did so good for like the songs in the background for those moments.
Yeah.
They
indescribably
gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
Well, do you know that he actually spent the rest of his entire career trying to recreate the magic of Thriller? And he really never felt as though he nailed it on the head. But I was around for that. Yeah, I was around before his surgeries.
Right.
I remember Michael Jackson when he was younger, like not 5 years old, but like we're, you know, not too far apart in age. And he was a teenager when I was a kid. So he was a good looking man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then he kind of like, as he got older, he went from like a nice looking young black man to like a womanly looking
a scary old white woman.
But it was scary. But then if you actually follow his stories, you see during that Pepsi commercial, he was badly burned.
Yeah.
And so there's stories they don't tell you. And where I thought he was just, his father shamed him a lot when they were part of the Jackson 5. He did not, he wanted them to bleach their skin all the time. And so it was like a whole psychological thing. And so I thought that that's the suit he was following, but it turned out it was an unfortunate circumstance that caused him to need all that constructive surgery.
Yeah.
You know, but also at the same time, he was taught to bleach his skin and to become something else, to appeal to the Eastern European look that was going on for that day and age. And it was heavily advertised and heavily promoted, like all across the board. There was actually products on the shelves to bleach your skin. Like it's inhumane to think and barbaric to think that we would do that. But in all actuality, we were taught to hate ourselves even by our own parents.
And
but he his story is like his backstory is amazing and scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to come out of that and create what he created, like Thriller is like, it inspired so much afterwards. Like
greatest album.
I had the puffy jacket. I had the puffy red jacket. It was like
I wanted that jacket so bad. I wanted that jacket.
They were prevalent when I was young.
Oh yeah, sure.
A lot of the clothes that you're seeing in the videos and the movies from the 1980s, these kids were going into their parents' closets And they were taking a shirt from their father and an oversized blazer from their mom, some jewelry. They were going to the thrift store for a hat. Like, the more ridiculous shit you wore, like, the better, you know?
The shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads. Yeah.
Oh, the shoulder pads. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, they're making a comeback. They're making a comeback, though.
I know they are.
I'll just put flasks on both sides. Like, where's that shoulder pad? She's so in style. And I'm like, just sipping on it.
Look, as long as Aquanet doesn't make a comeback, I think we'll be all right.
My God, I remember when like people were doing Aquanet and they were like breaking their hair.
Yeah,
it was. I had big hair. I should post a picture so everybody can laugh at me. It was so It was like the wave. It was like they come up to us in school. They'd measure our hair and they'd be like, if your hair is above 6 inches, you're in a gang.
Wow.
And we'd have to go and like wet it and comb it down to like 4 inches. Like, it was just crazy. These things the adults came up with. Like, we were certainly not in a gang because we had better freeze in our bangs. Such rebel.
Yeah, I got cousins that can tell me about those days. Who had the biggest hair?
Yeah, big hair was a big thing. It was crazy.
It's like when the yearbooks came out, they had competitions.
Oh yeah. And the bigger the better. Like,
yeah,
that would be the coolest girl in school that could keep her hair like that. Mine was always kind of like half flat because I was like trying to be cool. I wasn't really cool. I was like faking it till I made it, and you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the 90s, 90s, 2000s, so it was all bold cuts.
Oh, for the boys?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I never had one. I escaped that wrath.
Yeah. You escaped that?
Everybody I knew had one at some point in their life.
Yeah, my father tried to save money on that haircut, and he's like, you know what I'll do? He did this to my brother. He's like, you know what I do? I'll put a bowl around your head. And we're like, they're Italian. He's Italian, my stepfather. And he's like shaving around my brother's head. He looked like a dodo bird when he took it off because it was just like all just like one level. And my brother started crying. Like, I felt so bad. Like, I was like walking behind him as much as possible, like around school.
Like the birds like the vultures in Jungle Book.
No, for real. Like, he looked at those ring around their neck guys, like with just the haircut. You know how they have the bald head? My brother was like, his head was a bird's nest. My father was like, $15. My brother's like crying. His reputation is flushed down the toilet. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's great.
Oh Jesus, that's hilarious.
We'll just save some money. Yeah, we saved a lot of money back then because we didn't have health insurance either. So he was like, stitches, everything. Like, yeah, we had it all at home. Yep. He was a nurse sometimes. Sometimes he was a hairdresser.
Yeah, our stitches was super glue.
Yeah, I didn't even get them. It was just like pour some betadine on my finger and like wrap it in gauze.
They just threw extra dirt on you. They were like,
just put some Neosporin on it. You'll be fine.
I got like that wide in my finger, and they're like, it'll be fine. It'll grow back.
I remember when I was about 7 or 8.
You're a wizard.
I was about 7 or 8, and when we moved to the East Coast from California, it was the first time I ever got any kind of bug bites or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I was just tore up with them, right? I had them all over the place. And there was one in particular right around here on my arm. I remember my dad putting some snuff in his mouth. I didn't know that's what it was at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember him putting the shit in his mouth and then taking a little bit of it and putting it on there. And the itch went away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it draws it out.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but maybe that's why I smoke.
Yeah, you have the nicotine in your blood. Like,
yeah, it's a Spider-Man. You got a bite from tobacco, and now you're like, I can't.
It's actually like built into us. They just like threw it on us, like, hey, just here.
Alabama. I was like, okay, this is just what they do in Alabama. Normally, I'd go to a doctor and they would take care of it.
It's crazy. Yeah, I'm Native American, and we put ashes on our cuts.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm Cherokee, so yep.
I'm Lippan Apache.
Okay. Okay.
So it's crazy, but we each have our own like antiseptic type of thing. You know, like a lot of people don't realize that acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, is just willow bark.
Yep.
So you just walk up to a willow tree. Now, I wouldn't suggest it because you would really hurt yourself. It's like it causes stomach aches and stuff like that. So you just don't want to do it like unless you're kind of skilled, but you're supposed to steep a tea out of it and it will alleviate headaches.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. So everything comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, they go and they're picking different things and they're just combining them together and calling it medicine. But everything comes from somewhere originally. I like to try to pull the ingredients apart and see exactly what it is. But I have the good fortune of being raised with the knowledge of what was around me being medicine and the cure for poison.
Yeah.
It's usually within 3 feet of the cure is usually within 3 feet of the poison.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know because there's a lot of ivy around here.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, but like nature designs it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really like we don't get survival tips on here often. So that's
We should we're worried about like teaching our kids in elementary school all these insignificant things, and I'm like, there's really a lot that we could be learning here. There's a lot more that we could be doing and changing, and you know, hopefully everybody in the whole wide world can band-aid around and come together as a tribe and do that, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
Well, we don't want to take up too much more of your time. We really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
This has been fantastic.
Yeah.
We covered a lot.
Thank you. I had so much fun with you guys. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you all night.
You can come back at any time.
You can come back anytime you'd like.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for taking your time. I know that this was like a crazy schedule thing, but I'm really glad that we made it work.
Yeah, so am I. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Go ahead one more time. Tell the people what you got coming up.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys can find me right now. I'm kind of private on socials, but you can look for me in 2022 in the Axe to Grind, the sequel, and The House That Eats Flesh, as well as Go Straight to Hell and Vacation from Hell. And I have some upcoming surprises, so I will be announcing. So if you want to keep your eye on my IMDb, I'll be showing different announcements because I am going from actress to producer this year. So
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're excited to see what you got coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming again.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Yep.
Greg, till next time, buddy. Geeked in out.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Hallmark has the things to make Halloween a day of double takes. Liven up zombies with the tie and beanie. Join the pumpkin patch for Halloweeny. A bat for your bell, for your pet, for your pal. You'll shock them like a professional. With things from Hallmark, it's no bother. One Halloween take deserves another. Head for this Halloween Boo Bazaar, where Hallmark products rest. But only when you care enough to send the very best.